have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. Tech issues galore this morning. In fact, I look like I'm in 720p. Let's take a look. Maybe I'm in 1080p. Bueller? Is he in 1080p? Is he in 720p? Can he even bring up his settings? He can't. In fact, it may have just crashed out from what I want, so we're just going to have to grin and bear it, unfortunately, folks. Listen, I've been doing crazy things with this software. I don't know what to say. I've been in contact every day with these guys, and I'm getting nothing. I'm getting nothing galore. Still going to be a great show. Second hour's over at rvmrumble.com. And that second hour is going to be with Ray Dietrich, the founder and CEO of Red Voice Media. I think we had a really great conversation about alternative media, about what's going on in the current events, especially 2024, Trump, of course, etc. Tonight is going to be the first debate. No Trumpski in sight, but apparently he's going to do a interview with Tucker Carlson that coincides with it. So they've probably already done the interview, or they're doing it today. And then they're going to pump it out just around the same time. Why? Why don't we want a larger base of ideas? Just saying. Because, you know, I'm going to end up having to watch both, right? And Ramaswamy, I kind of think, you know, he's going to have some big moments. DeSantis is about to tank. That, like, he's going to try to run on everything Florida and this and that, and yada yada. Not going to work out for him. Okay? I'm just letting everybody know, in a real world, not going to work out for him. I'll be interested to see what's going on today, because, honestly, everybody up there is so damn establishment and such losers. Like, Nikki Haley's, like, the worst, and Mike Pence is, like, the worst. And this Scott character, Tim Scott, he's as phony as it gets. They're all like old, what you thought you believed in 80s politicians. Right? Like, by now, nobody's buying it. I mean, nobody. But they just tell you that the great narrative needs to march right along. Okay, sure it does. So, ChatGPT performs as well as a resident doctor at diagnosing patients and prescribing the right medication in primary care and emergency departments, study finds. Now, how long until AI medical care is the, I would say, WHO United Nations norm? And you're not allowed to question the AI, and then you just get, you know, delisted from big tech. Your social credit score by then is going to be solidified. Your blockchain UBI tokens will be restricted on where you can buy them or where you can use them because of it. It sounds like a nightmare to me. It sounds like a nightmare. And so many people are kind of dismissing the idea of AI in medicine. It's coming. ChatGPT will be a gateway to this type of medical care and diagnosis. That's just a fact, Jack. And that ain't Biden talk, by the way. I'll tilt that right there like that. I mean, Biden can't talk. The Maui thing's a disaster. Yeah, you know, people were talking to me about various aspects of it yesterday, not getting the whole picture that you got on Red Voice Media if you came down. They either knew about him falling asleep or they knew about his rambling speech but hadn't watched it. No, he's done. He was never there, right? Dunzo. Diddly dunzo. Sorry. And we're just going to sit by and let the AI take over? Don't worry. And don't be surprised if after 2024, we have a world where Trump is in jail. Biden has been reelected, but they're about to install somebody else. However, essentially, they start promoting the idea of AI to run society. And like, that would be a new talking point by the end, like after the rigged election. That it's okay. Everything's all right. The AI is going to take care of us. AI. Yeah, even if Biden's not there, even if Kamala embarrassed is out there cackle monstering away, saying stupid things and talking about, whoa, look, you're going to see space. We're also going to get into some space stuff. India. They're landing something on the moon today. We can watch it live. India. Remember we just did that story where Russia failed again? So, and I'm not saying that India has not become a technological superpower. Obviously, as globalization has occurred and different types of alliances have taken place in both the realms of trade and military. Yeah, I get it. But rocket technology is still just so fickle. So fickle. I watch that NASA channel, man, every day. And the more you watch it, the more you realize what they're projecting out to you. All right? And what is reality. And the reality is they got tons of black programs going on. And they got tons of different energy and propulsion systems. Whether they're utilizing them in mass, who knows? You know? For instance, I was watching this lecture on a new type of engine to essentially bring the UAV market to a commercial one in inner cities where you're taxied by autonomous UAVs. And a lot of people will be like, well, that's pretty easy, right? I mean, you see what we have. We're going to scale them up. They're not really practical the way they're built right now to scale up in that sense. Because when you got them so big, you got to understand those rotors underneath. They're pushing pressure down. You got to find a way where that's not going to disrupt society. You got to come up with things that are lightweight, but at the same time can carry heavy loads. And, they're going through them. This guy is showing exactly, how they're using alternative sources of energy and how they're using creative ways to heat sink, because when you have electrical energy, it gets extremely hot, right? So that's on the public surface, right? Now on the public surface with AI, we have Mid-Journey and a ton of other graphics programs. Photoshop beta is updating like on a bi-daily or I would say at least twice a week basis right now, just because of the AI. And, the AI seems to be getting better and better and better. Once again, the thumbnail here. Let's go to it again. Everything on the right-hand side, other than the yellow ball and the ChatGPT logo, that's generated with literally 2 prompts, 2 sentences I wrote. 2 selections, 2 sentences. I think for the background, I said, futuristic medical diagnostic center with green lighting. Gave me that. And then it was a little trickier to kind of get because it's so biased. And it's biased in kind of a ridiculous way. So I'm looking for, when I write the second prompt, I actually did it. It took me 3 sentences. I'm sorry. I had to scrap the first sentence. Why? Because I put the word doctor in there. And why did that ruin it? Because every doctor they were trying to make into some ethnic minority. Even though I was looking for like a futuristic, robotic doctor, cyborg, everyone, they still had to have a person of color. And the doctors were 3/4 women. And look, I'm looking for something that's like androgynous. I'm looking for a robot, not what they're trying to give me. So I had to take doctor out of the sentence. And you guys have seen it that have watched this, that the AI is not really none of it's actual artificial intelligence. It's all based on garbage in, garbage out programming. And although the AI certainly does train itself through large language models, what it's really doing is training those that program it how to set narratives and control narratives and work out the bugs when people use a little ingenuity, right? And subvert the censorship or the narrative that they're trying to promote. And that does happen. And then on top of that, we all just kind of have to accept. We're all just supposed to accept the idea they hallucinate. What? No, they don't hallucinate. They get things wrong on purpose because it promotes a narrative. This idea of AI hallucination is a red herring, in my opinion. It is a way to basically have plausible deniability that you are programming this artificial intelligence to deceive. It's deceptive. It's a lie. And listen, in a world of universal deceit, telling the truth is indeed a revolutionary act. So listen, I'm going to say this. Expect the United Nations to get behind this stuff. The World Health Organization to get behind this stuff. And the World Health Organization especially, because they're going to talk about the wonders of management and how much it gets right. And by the way, we're not just talking about things that look and talk like robots or chatbots. Within literally 3 to 5 years, it would be extremely easy to commercialize real life AI deep fakes, but they wouldn't be deep fakes because they would be AI generated human beings. They look like humans on a screen that you're interacting with through telehealth, that in real time you think they're a person. 3 to 5 years. And honestly, the technology already exists. That's hard for some people to comprehend. And, there might be a little fine print letting you know maybe you're talking to an AI. Maybe that'll be there. I don't know. Not even sure that might be there. So guys, also in the second half of this first hour, as long as I'm able to maintain some semblance of sanity with the software, we were able to kind of like finagle things at the end of the second hour yesterday. I'm going to have Dan Dix's interview on, and Dan Dix is really a pioneer in independent journalism, pressfortruth.ca. He was gracious enough to give me a little interview the other day. I miss Dan. I'd love to see him in person. He's done some of the seminal work on 9/11, the police state, you name it. One of the best out there. And again, second hour exclusively today, just like every Wednesday. Maybe it'll get posted a little later. Second hour exclusively over at RVM's Rumble, rvmrumble.com. Not going to want to miss that great conversation with Ray Dietrich. And I always love talking to other people on the network because we do have different perspectives and we can talk about things. And that's what it's all about. So we'll be back after this word from our sponsor.
We interrupt today's programming to bring unfortunate news. Biden's dangerous plan for a digital dollar is underway. Don't be fooled. It won't benefit you. So take action now. The Federal Reserve's phased deployment of FedNow began on July 1st, 2023. Be prepared. This may catch many off guard and put your hard-earned assets in jeopardy. But here's the good news. There's a simple legal tax loophole to opt out of the digital dollar. Speak to someone at American Alternative Assets for a free wealth protection guide and discover how to safeguard your wealth with gold and silver IRAs against a failing dollar and volatile markets. Dial 833, the number 2 USA Gold. Yes, call now, 833-287-2465. This invaluable guide provides precise steps to transfer your IRA or 401k into precious metals without any tax consequences. Don't let Biden force you into using the government's new digital dollar. Call 833, the number 2 USA Gold. Yes, call now, 833-287-2465. Act swiftly, 833-287-2465. Say gold. Yes, call now, 833.
Oh, sorry, I forget that the hawk. I got to get a whole new setup, man, because of this disaster. Got to do a whole new setup. It sucks because I have, laptops that are pretty slick and would do the same whole thing, but with the daddy pants here, everything should have been okay. Whatever. Don't want to talk shop much. The other thing is that my AC doesn't seem to be working correctly, and it's already, hot as a bag of nuts in here. Hot nuts, everybody. Hot as a bag of nuts in here already, and now I got the lights going, the AC's not going on. The fan would only work if the AC was pushing out. So just a nightmare of a day so far. Just one of those days, but not nightmarish like these poor people. Okay? Footage reveals a brutal brawl after British peacekeepers were attacked by Turkish Cypriots who had bulldozed UN vehicles out of the way during unauthorized construction work on the divided island. We don't want the United Nations anywhere near our country. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. We want the United Nations out of the United States and the United States out of the United Nations. And I cannot emphasize this enough because they have become the vehicle for the vast majority of this tyranny under the guise of not only global governance, because that is just a guise, right? But they've shifted gears and basically they have the plausible deniability loop, right? We're just making suggestions. You've signed on to a treaty. You don't have to adhere to this. You're still a sovereign nation. All bullshit. I mean, it looks like these people have really achieved what they wanted to after World War II. When I say these people, I mean those that want to regiment every single human being on the planet. They want to play your dark overlord. Take a good look right here, man. They don't want them there. I don't want blue berets anywhere near my country. Get it? You better back it up. And you know what? You could be special forces. You could be military trained. Good luck when you got a mob of people that size. Best of luck to you. I mean, would this be enough? And would we ever allow this in our country? You know how dangerous it would be to have UN troops on the streets? The United Nations, everybody. Is this against the YouTube policy that I'm criticizing the United Nations? These people don't want them there. They don't want them there. They don't want blue berets. They don't want white helmets. Same deal in Syria. They don't want you.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, what else do you say to that? No thanks. No thanks. Got a lot of stories here going down the line. Jeffrey Epstein's New Mexico ranch finds a buyer after 2 years. Apparently, what was it? $18 million? Let's see. Yeah, it's $18 million. Wanted $27 million for it. This is it. I'd be very interested to see who has bought in this and what they're going to do with it. You know, this is where he allegedly had a baby making ranch. Oh, let's see if it mentions that, because I think when I initially hit the headline, it did have that. Yeah, I hate it when you hit the headline and then the headline totally changes. We confirmed the sale by Epstein estate of the New Mexico property known as Zorro Ranch, with the proceeds to be used for the estate administration, including payment of creditors, says Daniel Weiner, an attorney representing Epstein's estate. Never investigated this place. Weird you wouldn't just tear this place up limb from limb. Okay? Well, details of that sale, including the purchase price and buyer, are confidential. The estate will disclose the sale in its next quarterly accounting to be filed in St. Thomas, U.S. VI probate court, Weiner said in a statement to one outlet. Epstein has reportedly hoped to turn the sprawling 33,000-foot property into a baby-making factory, and that several women reported having been raped and assaulted there when they were underage. Yep. Several. Ones that we know about. So once again, we don't investigate this place. You got the guy on tape talking about Islands of Dr. Moreau with Steve Bannon. Baby-making farms. No big deal. Sorry. We're sorry. Sorry. What? What is this? Talk about a nightmare, guys. I mean, we're living in the dark cartoon, everybody. We're unaccountable members of a predator class are just having their way with us, and they're making us pay for it. Taxpayer cash could be used to bankroll more bibbidi boops. Biden administration will use $1.4 billion to develop new drugs and shiggity shots. Yeah, the new BA 2.86, BA 2.86, BA 2.86. Yay! You know what I said about all this yesterday, but it's I guess it's not new. It just is hard to believe, and it sucks so much that we're constantly cutting our own throats by paying for and supporting our own demise. Just give the government carte blanche to do whatever they want with our money. Okay? Uh-oh, it's spreading in the USA. Ooh, the fear is back on. Mutant strains are a boot. Yeah, again, guys, take a good look. Take a good, hard look right here. I don't want to say much because I don't want to get kicked off of the Tubins right now. Don't want to get kicked off and no Tubins. And you know, I continue to see the critics over there. Why are you even on YouTube? I'm trying to bring people over to the uncensored stuff. Second hour had a little bit more of my opinion. But that's the other thing. They're telling you now that if you're directing people to links about disinformation, they'll take you off of YouTube. Not that I can make money here. People have asked if am I going to monetize my Twitter? I don't think so. It's not even really what I'm thinking about. I don't know why I would monetize my Twitter, because I've never gotten the real kind of traction I should on Twitter, and that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. So, and I certainly don't want to endorse what it's going to become and what it's already becoming. Awkward moment. Gormless-looking Biden shuffles away from a lectern as Hawaii Democrat tries to speak to him minutes after giving tone-deaf speech to victims of Maui's killer wildfire. So this is something we didn't get yesterday. Okay? He doesn't know what's going on. Doesn't know what's going on. Let's see if the video is that. Because that would be a new one. That'd be a nice little new video. Here we go. There he is. Joe scooting around. No clue what's going on. Huh? Where am I? What state am I in? Is that a Buddhist monk? Oh my goodness. Just, I guess this isn't going to be it. It just, again, just showing. Yeah, keep the aviators on, Joe. You're running stuff. He's running stuff. We got a little Tipsky and Hutch. You have a good mind, good heart, courage, and character. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Scott Free, thank you. Wes Express, thank you. Yesterday, I had Scott Gottlieb on. He was asking whether or not Sidney Gottlieb was related to him because they're in similar work. Is their family connected? Not that I know of. And I think Tara Vincent also yesterday. A lot of people helping out yesterday. Rebecca Brown, etc. But yeah, no, you can see him gearing up again. Look, they got a guy that's totally dazed and confused. He has no idea what's going on. None. Zero. Zip. Zilch. I mean, is this the 2-minute deal? I don't know if I could stand it. I really, really don't. I don't know if I can get through it. It's a dark cartoon. The idea that I also lived through a media cycle where they were talking about, what is it, the 25th Amendment to get rid of Trump because of his mental state, because he's not competent. This guy's done. He's been done since the beginning. It's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. It's frightening how bad it's become. And so many people are just accepting it. I'm not accepting it. It's bad news brown. Okay? Let's kick through a few more stories before the second break. Remember, RVMRumble.com for the second hour. Disgraced FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried complains to court that vegan prison diet is bread, water, and peanut butter, and it's outrageous, and says he can't prepare for trial without access to computers and medication. I'll bet he wants his antidepressants. I'll bet he wants his Adderall. I'll bet he does. Listen, they put him back in jail for a reason. Okay? They revoked his $250 million bail, and the reason he put him back in jail is because it was nice to work with him when he was just an awkward pseudo-moron they could launder money with. Okay? Like somebody on a spectrum that had some tech knowledge and was goofy. That's funny then. But they don't want him to spill too many of the beans. And they love for something to happen to this guy in prison. 100%. He was a bit of too much of a wild card for them. They tried to work with him because they really, really, really wanted to legitimize the narrative that this wasn't the type of corruption that was coming out, political corruption. Just pointing that out there. That's what they really wanted to do. And it didn't work. But at the same time, I think they want to marginalize the charges in the sense that they don't want this to become a huge scandal. When they burn this guy, and obviously they're going to burn him somehow, they want to ensure that he can't burn them back. Sam Bankman-Fried, everybody. Sam Bankman-Fried. The Muskernauts is holding the U.S. and Ukraine at gunpoint, according to Ronan Farrow. So Ronan's put out some good stuff. I don't know whether to buy this or not. I guess, again, my mind's open, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together, everybody. That's what we're going to do. That's how we do. That's how we do's it. Okay? And Farrow put out some really great stories on Harvey Weinstein, Black Cube, the Rose McGowan story, all that. And I do respect some of his journalism. You had the Muskernauts challenging Putin to single combat, getting in fights when it was Twitter, before he owned it, with the head of the Russian Space Agency. His Starlink is being utilized in Russia right now to rain down death showers with drones. And I think that this might be the wrong spin. I don't know. Elon Musk has been accused of holding the Ukrainians and the U.S. government at gunpoint with his ability to switch off internet services on the Ukrainian front line. If you look at that, you know, this is an admission that Starlink has been integral in this war. Why are we allowing this to happen? Why is this not a bigger story? Why is Musk allowed to circumvent any discussion of this? Ask yourself those questions. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to start the Dan Dix interview.
When I invented MyPillow, my passion was to help each and every one of you. And 20 years later, all of your support is what keeps us going. Because of you, we've been able to create thousands of USA jobs and help millions get the best sleep ever. To thank you, my employees and I are bringing you a limited edition MyPillow. The Giza Elegance MyPillow is made with my patented adjustable fill, the most amazing cotton, and a 2-inch pipe gusset. It has 4 custom loft levels, machine washable and dryable, and you get my 60-day money-back guarantee and 10-year warranty.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your limited edition 20th anniversary MyPillow queen size. Retails for $69.98, now only $19.98. That's right, get a queen size MyPillow for only $19.98.
From all of us here at MyPillow,
All right, folks, we are back, and we're going to go directly to this great interview with Dan Dix. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Again, the guy's a true pioneer in the world of alternative media, and I'm lucky to know the guy. Hey, everybody, Jason Bermas here, and we got another banger of an interview for you. My good friend and independent journalist now for well over a decade, really running almost 2 decades. It's over 15 years, I believe. Dan Dix, he does just some of the most seminal work inside the North American region, as he is a neighbor to the north. Dan, since the last time we've talked, there have been a lot of things going on. Obviously, the natural disasters right now are hitting quite close to home, but have also reached into North America. So let's start there. How is Press for Truth covering these wildfires? And what's going on authoritarian-wise with Commander Trudeau?
Oh, man. It's been crazy here in British Columbia. I'm sure you've heard of the over 300, I believe, now fires that are currently raging all across Canada. And, after we just witnessed what happened in Maui, in Hawaii, with so many questionable things, water being turned off, sirens not being used, evacuation routes being closed off, aid being blocked, all sorts of these questionable things that make it seem like it's some sort of a land grab. It begs the question, what else is happening around the world here? And Kelowna, BC is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful place to live in Canada. And I have friends who have family there right now who have been forced to evacuate their homes due to these fires. And we're now hearing similar things, Jason. I have a source, a very reliable source over there, who has been telling me that the water bombers, the airplanes that they're currently using, should have been used days ago, but they were purposefully held back for a number of days now. And obviously, this begs the question: why on earth would they do this? But it's really, really a crazy time right now for people in British Columbia, because we're seeing a lot of restrictions on travel in terms of going in there. I thought about maybe as an independent journalist going down and interviewing some people and kind of getting some boots on the ground reporting, but it doesn't look like that's going to be possible. That may lift soon, maybe once the fires subside a little bit. But there's already, Jason, been people arrested for arson. Yellowknife had, I think it was 20,000 people evacuated. That's up in the Northwest Territories. That's like the entire, it's like the whole place had to get evacuated. I think West Kelowna is looking at around 30,000 evacuees. So we're talking one of the largest, evacuation orders in Canada's history right now is happening. And it's all being blamed on, you guessed it, climate change. Man-made climate change is apparently what caused this. So, yeah, I've done a couple of reports right now kind of breaking down the arson that seems to be at play here, the fact that they're trying to paint it as climate change, and also the directed energy weapons kind of what I would say is a psyop. I don't know if you're on the same page as me, Jason, but yes, the Pentagon has this technology. Yes, the Department of Defense openly admits that they spend over $1 billion a year on this technology. But does that mean there's red lasers coming down from the sky in broad daylight? I don't think so. So I've been talking about that in my recent videos as well. Not to say that those things aren't ever used, but I don't think that's necessarily the case here.
You know, that's the thing. First of all, let's break a lot of that down, because there's a lot there, right? Like whether or not this is purposeful, whether or not maybe it started with arson and they said, hey, this could be a land grab. I want to bring people back to Katrina and the very real probability, not possibility, that the levees were actually blown. So you had a hurricane, a real natural disaster, an event, where had those levees not collapsed, the richer areas would have been flooded, and the poorer areas that were trying to be bought up by the richer folks would have been spared. And yet, we had a lot of evidence to suggest that those were blown on purpose, and it was the poorer districts that were flooded, and many businesses worked out. So we have exploitation there. In the case of Hawaii right now, again, I'm not saying arson or directed energy weapons or any of those things, but just the fact that the media is shielding the fact that the majority of these missing people are probably children that were sent home from their schools that day, and that the alarms did not go off. And the excuse is, I don't know if you've seen it, because they've admitted that the alarms did not go off. They said, well, a lot of people that hear that, they think of the hurricanes and they're supposed to take higher ground. Well, the only time I had ever heard them was in viral video footage when you had the fake nuclear disaster and the warning. Now, you wouldn't take higher ground in a nuclear attack, yet they were ringing then as well. So you certainly have to question that. And now, my friend, for the coup de grace of the directed energy weapons. Yes, they absolutely exist, and they've existed for a very, very long time. In fact, in that same NASA document that I continually go to while you're on the broadcast, you have what is called a blast wave accelerator. And if you notice, it talks about global precision strikes on the cheap, no barrels, excellent stealth, no plume, ferocity, reaction time, survivability, recallability, great weapon. Not only do they tell you about it, Dan, they show you it. They show you a diagram. Actually exists. This is a real thing. But unfortunately, if you didn't just notice, stealth is a big part of it. So if you're going to throw that around, even if it is something that happened, how are you ever going to prove it? So in a lot of ways, unless you have some kind of evidence, the vast majority of us do not, you're doing us a disservice by advocating that you are 100% sure that that is how this occurred. Because you're not, and we're not. And that's kind of, unfortunately, where we're at in this fifth generational warfare that we've all succumbed to. Because just like I discussed with everything I said, you also made the point that no matter what, they blamed it on climate change. That is yet another aspect of this continual psychological operation, that it's not them or they did everything they could. It's us pesky, plebs that are to blame. It's our activities. It's the general populace. It's the dum-dums. We did it, Dan. We did it.
Yeah. Well, speaking to that, in Canada, there's this crazy faction of eco-terrorists, essentially, who are just hell-bent on convincing everyone that climate change is the reason for all this. And you got to think back to when they allegedly found, the residential schools, and everybody was really ticked off that, all these kids are apparently buried underneath these Catholic schools, which, by the way, they haven't found a single body to date. But at any rate, anyways, all these girls, mostly women, this is interesting, started going out there and lighting fires to churches. There were dozens and dozens of churches that were burned down in response to this. So we've already seen these activists, I would say in quotes, going around burning down things in the name of pushing their own ideology. So this is something I think we need to look a little bit closer at, especially as you said, they're just screaming it's climate change when we have actual cases of arson, previous historical cases of arson, similar cases of arson, and that's what's going on now. But like you said, we could speculate all day about what caused this and that, but maybe we should just look at the facts. Like in Hawaii, some of those insurance claims on the houses were didn't go through. The insurance companies are saying that there was some sort of default, or that you weren't up to code. And from what I hear, Jason, wealthy people and investors and realtors are calling specifically the people who they know their insurances didn't go through. So it's like they're targeting certain people who they know are desperate, which makes it seem like there is a little bit of a land grab going on here. And that's another big part of it. And that begs the question, what's happening in West Kelowna, in British Columbia? Is it part of that, or is it natural? I mean, let's the truth be told, it has been very, very dry here. We haven't had a lot of rain this summer, which is, not really normal for this area. So it has been very, very dry, and these high winds have gotten insane. West Kelowna was like 50-kilometer winds that were blowing these embers, apparently all across Lake Okanagan, which is a massive, massive lake. So the conditions are there for some of these terrible things we are seeing, but they don't seem to be trying to put them out at any kind of pace. They've in Quebec, for example, they applied for certain funding for firefighting. They haven't been accepted yet. There's a lot of questionable things with the firefighting in Alberta, all over Canada. There's all kinds of questions about why these fires are still raging to this day.
So I want to shift gears. I want to get the Canadian perspective on Donald Trump right now. We have 4 indictments. It seems to me this is it. They're pulling the trigger. They're really going to put him in prison. I think that these are different situations than when he was the president. I was never a walls are closing in guy, especially in the case of January 6th, where everything is fabricated and you have a kangaroo court in D.C. I don't see much hope. We've never had this in our country. In other words, we have a slew of presidents that have smiled after the fact of committing numerous war crimes that you would have hoped that they got prosecuted for. Yet we have these non-crimes for Trump. We have the court dates set right around primary season. We already have the mantra that, from the establishment, both in politics and in the media, that he should not be the nominee during the primaries, despite his overwhelming popularity. And now you actually have people like Gavin Newsom, who seem to be like in the backdoor mix for a replacement of Joe Biden after they install him again, saying that they're going to try to pass a bill that says Donnie T can't be on the ballot in California. If they're able to get that through in just 2 states, and every Democratic lunatic governor goes for it just to kind of grandstand, it's over no matter what for that presidency. So, I just unraveled a lot there. Donnie T in prison, the unprecedentedness of that, a 2024 sham election. What are you guys looking at in Canada? What's the overall feeling there?
Well, how about not as a Canadian, but as somebody who's been watching the U.S. presidential selection process for decades now, and I just can't help but continue to see this as something that's almost more choreographed than a ballet. It's really on par with the Worldwide Wrestling Federation type of scenario here. So I'll be honest, this might not be the answer you wanted to hear, Jason, but when I see words like indictment, and things like that in the news, I kind of tend to just scroll on by, because to me, it's kind of all just a big part of the show to continue to paint the false left-right narrative, that the American people actually have an option, that they actually have a choice. I'm still of the strong belief that they are under the illusion of choice, and that's truly what democracy currently is at this stage in the game. So, whether or not he's going to go to jail, I kind of doubt it. I think, and whether he realizes that he's being used as a puppet by the powers that ought not to be, I don't know. That can be debated as well. But it seems to me in this day and age, you don't become president of the United States unless those who are pulling the strings allow that type of thing to happen. Whether I said, if he's in on it, if he's not, if he's being used, that's up for debate. But I think at this stage in the game, it's all such a big, what do they call it? Dog and pony show. It's just kind of theater.
See, we're going to pause it right there. We got to take a break. When we come back in this first hour, we're going to finish up that great interview with Dan Dix of Press for Truth, pressfortruth.ca. The second hour, exclusively over at Rumble, rvmrumble.com or the RVM Rumble page. And that is a great interview with Ray Dietrich. You're not going to want to miss that one. So let's go to a word from our sponsor, then we're going to come back with Dan Dix. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share.
Attention Americans, breaking news. Biden's dangerous plan for a digital dollar is underway. Don't be fooled. It won't benefit you. Take action now. The Federal Reserve phased deployment of FedNow began on July 1st, 2023. Be prepared. This may catch many off guard. Your hard-earned assets are in jeopardy. But there's a simple legal tax loophole to opt out of the digital dollar. Reach out to American Alternative Assets for a free wealth protection guide and discover how to safeguard your wealth with gold and silver IRAs against a failing dollar and volatile markets. Visit protectfrombiden.com. This invaluable guide provides precise steps to transfer your IRA or 401k into precious metals without any tax consequences. Be smart. Don't let Biden force you into using the government's new digital dollar. Visit protectfrombiden.com to get your free guide and get started. Again, that's protectfrombiden.com.
I'm coming at it from a different perspective on this one. I think that Donnie T was a disruptor. As you know, there were huge problems, right? Like, he didn't deliver on the foreign policy he promised. He backed down from getting out of Syria, and he still backs the idea that Duma attack happened. That's not real. He failed on Assange, right? I would say that he didn't deliver on JFK. All of those things. But I also truly believe that he obviously won the 2020 election. He couldn't have been in a stronger position to audit that election and should have done things prior to ensure that there were no mail-in ballots, that we had already really audited the system, I would say, in the 2018 midterms with these machines. The machines got to go. I mean, how long have we been talking about that, Dan? We've literally been talking.
There's no way old man Sleepy Joe got, what was it? I don't even know how many.
81 million strong. Okay.
Are you how are they going to figure that the people are going to believe that? Just look at look at the reaction he gets from the general population. Look at the crowds that show up to him. It's compared to Trump, anyways. It's
and yet they installed him, right? And yet they installed a poopy pants zombie that had dementia then and has worsened now, and still the mainstream media, other than Fox News, won't even acknowledge that. So I think his great sin is that he is a disruptor, that he has pulled the facade back, that many people are questioning the narrative and not as obedient before, and that they would have probably left him alone if he wasn't going to run in 2024. But from the very beginning, I said if he runs in 2024, they're putting him in prison. Now, that's a huge deal here. Again, love him or hate him. We've never seen it. And, I've made the point recently that you would probably have to go to most people like myself who are, third, fourth generation Americans and go to our grandparents that came over here either post World War I or during the World War II scenario for them to live in a spot where you actually jailed the ex-presidents. More recent immigrants, obviously, coming out of African nations or places in South America, that would be the case. But never here. Never here. Number one, I don't know how we're going to react as this generation because we've never seen it for those that have actually been here the whole time. And number two, I think it's the move where you can't get rid of him, you can't assassinate him. Let's assassinate his character. Let's take directive of this great narrative and really control history after the fact. And at the same time, really strong arm anybody that would dare challenge us again.
Well, you pointed out some of the things that he epically failed on, and let's not forget the massive vaccine push, right? That he is proud of being behind. Now, as we're moving into 2024, there's a lot of talk that we're in the eye of the hurricane, the calm before the storm of Plandemic 2.0 coming around, COVID 1984 round 2.
And of course, we had a crash. Why wouldn't VLC crash on me today? Why wouldn't we just have the worst of the worst happen? I'm gonna try. That's really weird though, because you know what's he talking about while we're doing that? And there's the program crash on my end. Hopefully, we're gonna be able to go back to the Dan Dix interview. Just can't win sometimes, guys. Just can't win sometimes. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share if you were enjoying that. I was enjoying it. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see if we can do it. Okay. We got to go all the way over to, I think, man. I want to make sure I want to make sure we get it right here, guys. There's the 2. Here we go. Hopefully I'll be able to change my scene to this. We just don't know anymore. We just don't know. Here we go. We did it, and we're back.
2 coming around the corner. And so, you know, we got to be careful when someone who champions the vaccine so much might be getting into the power right when we have, you know, COVID 1984 round 2 potentially coming around the corner. So let's not forget that this man might push this thing on the mass amount of Americans, maybe soldiers, maybe workers, who knows.
And he's failed on that, by the way. He failed on Operation Warp Speed. Again, he came into place of strength. Speed, yeah. He let people like Fauci walk all over him, and he has not recanted. You know, he's talked about basically how the hate and lie shots were the best thing since breakfast. And you know what? I'm glad you're discussing that because, you know, as much as Trump has broken the system, RFK Jr., who would be the clear front runner for the Democratic Party, is able to say those things and say those things with authority. He's the one talking about the shots. He's the one talking about remdesivir. He's the one talking about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. He's the one talking about the frogs and atrazine. And now they're turning the freaking frogs gay. Like, what are your thoughts of RFK Jr.'s run? And again, because you have a little bit different of a perspective, you know, speak to, you know, how he's being perceived up north. Is he being as demonized in the mainstream as he is here?
Yeah, I would say there's probably equal demonization. I mean, anybody who's going to vocally speak out against the medical tyranny is going to be completely ostracized in the news. They're going to be, you know, painted in a negative light. But so far, I mean, some of the things that he's been saying have been pretty bang on, I would say. But like as you mentioned, you know, I'm Canadian. I'm not necessarily following the U.S. Selection process this year so closely with all the different candidates and all that sort of stuff, because I'm almost getting disillusioned with the whole thing over so many years of watching this. You know, I mean, you remember, you know, the days of Bush Kerry. You got skull, you got bones. That's your options. You know, I really don't think we're that far off from there. So, you know, hey, I'm still the, you know, a big fan of guys like Ron Paul. You know, but I always said, even back in the day, if he got in, well, then I'd have to question him, you know. But anyways,
we should always hold those people accountable, even if your guy gets in. This ain't team baseball, man. This is a constitutional republic of checks and balances. And if you want to have an equal and free humanity, those are the types of things you have to do. You have to challenge those in power, especially if you disagree. It doesn't matter if you agree on everything. You know, you have to also be able to not have total like TDS, right? And be able to constructively criticize, you know, the moves of Trump, which you did. You articulated Operation Warp Speed and the hate and lie shots well. And yeah, you've got Kennedy coming from an establishment family that's already been wishy-washy on his former position on Israel and where he is now. So he does need to be questioned on these things. Always hold them accountable. But the problem is, when the true criminal class gets caught, it seems like they're never held accountable, whether it be in this country or your country. I mean, take a look at your current prime minister. I would imagine that, you know, his popularity is just as large as I think it is, where he can't go into a public arena anymore without being booed or shouted down, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's another funny thing, and that's exactly correct. Everywhere he goes now, he's completely hated. And I just think back to 8 years ago or whatever it was when he got in 2015, and everybody was they hated Stephen Harper so much. It was all about hating on Harper, anything but Harper. And then this young guy with great looking hair comes along. And everybody's like, this is the hope and change. This is what we need. And I remember back then going, you know, guys, this is wrong. This is not the way you want to go. And now everybody hates this guy, and rightly so. I mean, I'm sure you've just, you know, heard the news. He's you know, getting a divorce.
It's tragic. How could it happen to Baby Eyes there? How could it happen to the guy who dresses like Aladdin? How could it happen to the guy who not only dressed in blackface, but then stuffed his jeans with an anaconda snake on his river rafting trip? I mean, that guy's a top-notch dude. How could he not? Is there hope for any of us if he can't keep a marriage together, Dan?
Well, his wife probably finally decided she's into men or something, and you know, so and decided to make the switch. But you know, if he can't even keep his family together, why would anybody think he can keep the country together? You know, this is the guy. He's an openly, admittedly, feminist. He, you know, changed the lyrics of the Canadian national anthem to be more inclusive. He's a transgender activist. He brings his children to the pride parades, stuff like that. You know, he's absolutely toxic. And it's finally, people are starting to see that. But now you got the new controlled opposition, right? This Pierre Poilievre is the new face that's going to come in because everybody hates Trudeau now. Got to get rid of him. Well, what's the answer? It's, this guy. And guess what? He's more of the same. It's basically, it's the cycle continues once again. So unfortunately, you know, I think we're going to have similar things. Now, that's not, you know, it's not the same in the United States. Trudeau could potentially be in for, you know, another decade potentially. So I don't think that'll happen though. But yes, people are absolutely fed up with this man right now, and rightly so.
So Dan, wrapping it up, what other stories are we missing out on? What other things is Press for Truth covering in the next couple of weeks that we need to know about?
I mean, I just take things day by day. Today, I did a video about basically the new rounds of COVID lockdowns that are potentially coming around the corner. There's a lot of rumors going around right now that this is set in stone. So I discussed that, but more importantly, you know, I want to get into more solution-orientated things to talk about. How do we defeat these things? What do we do if it does happen? More importantly, how do we get prepared multiple steps before these things happen? So I like to talk about, you know, food security, getting to the point of having a self-sustainable garden and things of those nature, because I think that's going to be one of the most important things to continue to talk about to our audiences moving forward, is the importance for food security. So I'm really just taking it day by day right now, Jason. Obviously, the fires are still a very big story here. I'll continue to cover that as those continue to happen. But as always, just take it day by day here, my friend.
Final question. You know, I've been bringing this up with a lot of guests lately. What are your feelings on the new Sam Altman project of WorldCoin and the Orb? You know, have you seen the Orb?
Yeah, I have. It's pretty, it's a dystopian Orwellian nightmare. It's pretty wild that people would willingly line up to have their irises scanned and to be put into this digital global database so that they could, obtain a little bit of free crypto. I mean, to me, this is really the bigger steps towards the one to rule them all. And, you know, I've always talked about for years that there's going to be an eventual cashless society and an eventual one world digital currency. I don't think necessarily Bitcoin is it. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I do think we are getting to a point where they are setting that up. And this is one of those steps when it comes to verifying human beings over, you know, AI or whatever else might have you. So the verification process is getting real. X, formerly known as Twitter, has just announced they're going to do a similar thing. You got to take a selfie in order for, I think blue checkmark people are going to have to
with your ID. With your
Yeah.
ID. And you know what? With the WorldCoin, people have to realize that basically it's a beta UBI blockchain test. You know, you are adhering to this thing. It is taking your biometrics, but at the same time, they've already done this across the board with the UN World Food Program at refugee camps. And we've already done it. We've even beta tested it before the blockchain via the war of terror when we did it in Afghanistan and Iraq. And, you know, the only difference is it's not an orb. It's just a camera taking your iris scan. And now you're part of not only the Internet of Things, but the Internet of Bodies. And they've also talked about it to, quote unquote, ensure the democratic process. So it's even beyond track, trace, database, cashless society. Like you said, one app, one blockchain to rule them all. And we're in the incremental stages of them coming and making that come into fruition. Dan Dix, a pleasure as always. Pressfortruth.ca is the website. Tell everybody else where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, I'm on maybe 8 different platforms now. I've kind of diversified my video sharing platforms ever since being terminated from YouTube. So you can find me on Rumble, you can find me on BitChute, on Minds, on Odyssey. All of those you can pretty much find on my website, pressfortruth.ca. Thanks again, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And guys, we will see you on.
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IPVanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you. Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IPVanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IPVanish.
All right, folks, you know the drill. If you're watching anywhere right now, it doesn't matter, YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, second hour is starting right now. Are you ready for it? Over at rvmrumble.com exclusively. So get on over there and check it out. We love you, but it's over there.